If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 245 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. What a weekend we have in store. 3 major Kentucky Derby preps. And on this particular podcast, we're going to be talking about the Keeneland All Stakes, Pick 5, races 5 through 9 this Saturday, all grade stakes. It's going to be an unbelievable sequence. Thanks for joining us here to talk about it. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Also hit that notification bell, and then also hit that thumbs button. All of that will help the YouTube algorithm send people to this channel. So we'd really appreciate all the support. We are very close to 2,000 subscribers. We're like 50 people away. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter on the name tag there at HKravitz. In the bottom of the screen, you'll see my email scrolling right about now. There it is, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. We've got a big show coming up. Actually, right after this one, we got a double header as we're filming this Thursday early evening. But we have another show tonight as well to talk about the Wood Memorial and the Aqueduct Late Pick 5. And then Saturday, it's the Tapit Trice watch party. Join us live starting at 4:15 Eastern. That's 4:15 Eastern. We're going to cover the Shakertown, which is a fantastic graded stakes turf sprint, which leads right into the Bluegrass with Tapit Trice. And if you stick around a little bit, I think we're also going to cover the Santa Anita Derby, which is literally minutes right after the Bluegrass. So it's an unbelievable live coverage this Saturday starting at 4:15 Eastern Standard Time. Please check that out as well. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We've got Power Picks. Look down below the video player for all the information about the Power Picks. Then, of course, we also have a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. You can check all that out. Let's see. We've got some people here already that are watching the show. Let's see who we've got here. We've got Vale Place. Vale Place loves that intro. Vale Place, how you doing? Nick Feldman, hola, Kimosabis. What's up, Nick? How you doing? Sean Kane loves the Keeneland hat. Thanks, Sean. We're going to see more of that coming up very soon. I'll tell you why. Ed Morales, by the way, I don't think our co-hosts know this, the winner of the NCAA pool for the HHH Racing Podcast. So, Ed, congratulations on that. Very excited and happy for you. Let me fix the, sorry about the screen there. There we go. Ed, congratulations. Ralph Conti, let's make some money. Absolutely. Let me bring on my co-host because we have a very busy day with a doubleheader. It's an Ernie Banks Let's Play 2 kind of day. For those of you that know your old school baseball, let's bring in first from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Guys, big night, big weekend. How we doing?
What's happening, fellas?
Paul, do you have the energy from last night's tape show?
Yeah, it just got over, right?
I think it just finished.
I was telling my wife, Paul, we were on a walk earlier. I was like, I was watching the show, and I said, by that last 15 minutes, Paul was yawning. I was like, wait, you were stretching the limits of him last night.
Hey, Pete, 11:30, Pete. Come on.
It's rough. It's rough, man. That's why early bird doesn't end past 5:30. 5:30.
That's right, Pete. When we take over, Pete. That's right.
Paul, there's a little bit of a glare. I don't know if you can see it. It's like right by your glasses. I don't know if it. There we go. It's gone. All right, guys. I mean, the main headline story, of course, for this All Stakes Pick 5 is Tapit Trice. I think the big question is all of us going to pick Tapit Trice in the Bluegrass? We'll have to see about that. But it's a fantastic card. Now, opening day, as you guys know, is tomorrow as we're filming this Friday. Bettin, Boozin, Pete did a great job. Kyle Roscoe, Patrick Kunzel. That card tomorrow, Friday, is fantastic. And they covered what I thought is a very difficult late pick 5 on opening day tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun one to start with. And the Philly race and the other race, which I'm completely forgetting what the name of it is, the Sprint, which is an awesome race too. Two nice, really good fields surrounded by a nice set of other horses in that sequence, or races, I should say, in that sequence.
Yeah. Now, Paul, I know you love when I talk about the weather. This is not something that we have to predict. They did get a little rain at Keeneland today, but it's going to clear out for the weekend. It's going to be a little cooler tomorrow and cloudy. It's going to be comfortable Saturday and sunny. It is nice to see nice, lush, green turf, which we're going to see at Keeneland, and allow closers to have a chance to win some of these races.
Forget this weekend, Howard. What's the long range forecast for Keeneland?
Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Have you looked at it, Paul?
Of course.
I saw 80 and sunny next weekend.
He gave you
In
gave
Chicago
question.
next weekend, it's going to be like 75 and
I was going to say, he gave you the segue. Are you going to actually take it, Howard, or are you just going to let that just flow over your head there? He gave you the beautiful dish on the wing, and I think
Pete, I can only do so much, Pete.
I mean, it's like being a great point guard with just bad players around you, Paul. There's nothing you could do.
No, I can do. Nice pullover, by the way, Paul.
Yes.
We got to get you some Keeneland here. Now, Paul, next weekend, last thing before we get into the handicapping, we have a big announcement. I don't think most people watching, listening don't know this. Myself and the wonderful Paul Halloran, we will be at Keeneland Racecourse next weekend. Let's go, baby. Paul, do you want to briefly tell people why you're going to be there? Or would you rather not right now?
Yeah, well, I'm going down to do some work. I mean, I have a project going on. You know, it's on Cody's wish. It's on the Dormans. I've talked to them many times. The ultimate goal is to turn it into a book, and I've done quite a bit of work on it already. And I am going down to Kentucky next week to conduct some additional interviews with the Godolphin people at Gainsborough Farm, where Cody first met Cody's wish. Before Cody's wish was Cody's wish, and some other, so as much as I can do while I'm there. And I figured since I have to go to that area, why not go when Keeneland is running? So,
and Paul, I think most people are going to be pretty surprised knowing how much you've been involved in the game. You've never been to Keeneland.
I've never been to Keeneland. I am very much looking forward to it. Forecast looks great. So it should be terrific.
Very excited.
What day are you guys getting down there for the viewers, if anyone's going to be there? What days were you getting there?
Paul, go ahead and I'll tell everyone.
Well, I'm getting into town, Pete. I'm getting into town Thursday around noontime. So the potential is to get to the track all 4 days. That may not happen. I'm hoping for 2 or 3, but I'm hoping definitely Saturday and either Friday or Sunday. And, we'll see what happens Thursday. I don't really have all the interviews set up yet. So although I do have a few other side trips have been set up, Howard. I may or may not be seeing a couple of horses very close to my heart while I'm there.
Yes.
Ooh. Get some good pictures. Get some good pictures.
Actually,
Absolutely.
I know two of them.
Those would be the two.
Nah, Paul, you're gonna love it. It's an amazing place. If you enjoy horse racing or horses, it'll be my, I think, 5th time. It's good when you start losing count. That's always a good thing as far as I'm concerned. I think it'll be my 5th time there. I am actually, full disclosure, I'm not just saying this to get away from work, or get in trouble with work. I'm working a full day Friday. I'm jumping on a plane just because of the time situation, and I'm flying in fairly late Friday night and flying out Sunday night. So it's going to be very quick 48 hours for me. The reason I'm going down there, really twofold. One is Drew Coatney, the winner of the BCBC last year, is going to be getting a winner's circle presentation, guys, that we're going to be a part of. So I don't know when it's going to be. I'll tweet it out, but I'll be in the winner's circle for the 2nd time in my life, not because a horse won, but because of Drew Coatney and to celebrate his BCBC victory. And the other reason I'll be down there is, of course, it is the Grade 1 Gamble. It's one of the biggest live money tournaments of the year. It's a $3,500 buy-in. I've saved some money. I had a recent score in the NHC, and so I'm parlaying that into a Grade 1 Gamble participant, and so that's another reason why I'm going. So I'm very excited. If anyone is interested in meeting up with Paul or myself, I think the best way is probably just to hit us up on Twitter and DM I will be at the track Saturday and Sunday as well. So Sunday, most of the card. Saturday, obviously the whole card. And Paul, we'll be together on Saturday, correct? Sitting together. And Sunday.
Yes, I will be rooting for you live in the Phoenix room on Saturday, Howard.
I will be in the Phoenix room. So will Paul. If you're familiar with Keeneland, you're going to be there. I think you need a ticket to get into the Phoenix room, but we'll be walking around as well. And then Sunday, I think we're going to be in the green room, thanks to Jim Goodman. So we taking care of Paul. You're going to love it. It's a horse racing paradise. Pete, we got to get you there at some point.
One of these days, for sure.
Yeah, Noah Megger. I doubt most of my on-track tickets will have. Whoa, wait, now Noah.
Good job, Noah. Good job, Noah.
Noah, I was gonna send you an email to you and Trish Smith. Trish Smith, by the way, lives in Lexington also, Paul. So I'm assuming we have a chance to see both of them. Noah, you might be taken off my list now, man. I was hoping to meet you. I don't like what that says there on the screen. Just kidding, Noah. Well, Noah, hit me up on Twitter. Same with Trish Smith. Trish, if you hear this, and we'll talk. Nick Feldman mentioned the Burgoo. Always very good. Paul, I insist, you will have some bread pudding, because the bread pudding there, even if you don't even know what it is unbelievable. So it's one of the best desserts I've ever had, and you can have it as an appetizer or just as your main course. Who the hell cares? It's great. Pete, we got to get you to Keeneland sometime.
Definitely.
All right. Let's see. You're racing downwind. Paul, make sure you're not in Howard's lucky chair. Ooh.
Well, let's see if one gets
I don't know if I have
first.
a lucky chair.
Yeah, let's get one lucky first. Then you can worry about that. Yeah, get a couple of winners in one of the chairs.
All right, let's jump to the races, guys, because as you know, we've got a doubleheader. We got a big night tonight. So let's jump right in. Again, this is not the late pick 5, ladies and gentlemen. This is the all stakes pick 5 that starts in race 5. I believe there's a guaranteed $500,000 in the pool. Don't quote me on that, but I believe there is a guaranteed money. But listen, it's Saturday of Keeneland in the spring on Bluegrass Day. They don't have to have a guarantee. There's going to be a ton of money in there. You see it scrolling on the bottom of the screen, our picks, and wow, we are starting off with a horse that we all love, apparently. Race 5 is the Commonwealth. It's a grade 3. It starts at approximately 250 Eastern Standard Time. $300,000 is the purse. The purses are unbelievable at Keeneland all meet long. 7 furlongs on the dirt. You see the field there, the field of 10. A lot of familiar names. The morning line favorite is the number 2, Nakatomi for Wesley Ward and Tyler Gaffleone. Pete, we're going to go to you first. We are all going to the number 7, Run Classic for Calhoun and Gutierrez cutting back. What do you like about this one, Pete?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought this was a little bit more of a wide open race. I'm surprised we all landed in the same spot.
Well, it is, but we're smart, so that's why.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. Either that or we're equally stupid. So one of the two. We'll see how the race bears out in the end. But I think this one, I like this horse because we haven't seen this horse sprinting in a while. Last time we did, going 7 furlongs, 1 by 8 with a 105 buyer, which is pretty solid. So I would take that if we can get that on Saturday. And this horse, I mean, if you look at the last couple, it's just been running against really solid company and not running badly at all. I mean, the Pioneer, Medina, Mr. Wireless, and the Mineshaft, that was a pretty good field. Ran a bang-up race, was hanging on right to the end. Happy American, Mr. Wireless, Forza Dioro, just good quality in the last 2 routing. The lifetime buyer top was at 7 furlongs, which you love. So it's just one of those where, hey, they were trying to get this one to go a little longer. Maybe they're figuring now, hey, you know what? This one's pretty good sprinting. Let's cut it back a little bit. And I think it looks really good. And then you got Paul's man, which I'm assuming he's going to talk about Ray Lou on it last time and up again. So you can't go wrong there either.
Paul, anything you want to add with Run Classic?
Just I am a sucker for cutbacks at 7 furlongs. Pete referenced the distance and how successful this horse was at 7. And again, I'm a sucker for the horses cutting back from 2 turns to 1 turn, especially when they're middle to outside. And I think he sits a great trip. And this is important. You know, Ray Lou coming off the championship at Fairgrounds, winning the title. You know, he's still looking for good mounts on the Kentucky circuit when he's down there. And hopefully back in the New York circuit at some time. So, and he and Calhoun proved to be a devastating connection at the fairgrounds. So I say all systems go.
Paul, I've been waiting, and Pete, I've been waiting for a while for this horse to turn back. He is not a two-turn horse, at least in my opinion. And the fact that he ran so well last time, he ran through the negative vibe for me of going 2 turns. Rayleigh was aggressive. I think he needs to be aggressive also. There's not a lot of early speed, which is another reason why I turned to this horse. I mean, just scroll down the list. I mean, there's just not a lot of early speed. The only, based on the early U.S. pace time form ratings, Pete, the one is the only one that in theory will challenge. And this horse doesn't usually break really fast. And Brian Hernandez is not known as a send guy. I want Rayleigh just to go. He can sit too, but just all signs, Pete, to me, point towards the 7. You've got Hoist the Golden second, who, 8-1. If you get that, this is a very honest horse. I've got this horse in third. I think this horse is possible here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this one unfortunately doesn't like to win that often, but that also, I mean, if you look down the page though, you go, okay, was it going to beat Pioneer Medina, Taba, Tejano Twist has been running really well, Gunite, Kavad, Elite, even when you're like, oh, it's an optional claiming 62, should be able to win that. Yeah, except when you run against Elite Power on his way up and then Gunite a couple back. So when you look at it, you go, yeah, this horse doesn't win, but also maybe shouldn't have won in looking at most of those races, aside from maybe the one when favored. Yeah. So I just think 3 for 3 inside the money, at least at this distance. So likes the distance, is pretty versatile. 6 furlongs, is stretched out. And again, stretched out last time with Run Classic and still ran very respectably, was in the race the whole time, sitting up on a pretty decent pace. And I mean, I think you could just toss that last one. And then I think this one getting back to what they do. Again, I don't know just because it doesn't like to win, but hey, you're getting a little bit, it's almost a little bit of class relief here because of just the bears that he's been going against. So maybe this is one where he could turn it around finally.
Michael Olsen isn't messing around. Oh, excuse me, Michael
I
Olsen.
love it.
He's like, here, let's just go to the pick
let's
5.
Just get
Michael,
the
hold on a second.
Let's just get him
we'll
in.
Get there. Nick mentions that Mike Samich, who I have a lot of respect for, he's an excellent handicapper. Thought the 5 would sing at 20-1. My issue with the 5, I looked at Legionnaire, is just I don't see the pace scenario working. This is pretty much a closer in a race that does not have a lot of a pace in it. So
he's on my ticket, by the way. He was my fourth horse. He's on my
second
my
off the layoff.
Well, I like
I have him as a C actually, just in case. But
I mean, I like that's one where it's just you sort of, there's a little bit of muddying in the form, which maybe leads to the 20-1. So we'll see if that can turn it around.
I can see it underneath. I don't know about the win end. In my opinion, Paul, you've got the 3 third. I've got Nakatomi second. Real quick, Paul, your thoughts on Getter number. I'll talk about Nakatomi and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I like the 3 here, Howard. Again, successful at this distance. 3 out of 4 on the board. Has a win. Shows 2 triple-digit buyers. Both of them at 6 furlongs. This is 7. He does have that 1 1/8. They took a big swing for the fences in the Pegasus, and that did not work out well. But they cut back after that, and the horse ran respectably. Pete talked about the PPs for the one horse, and those are all good points. But you're looking at this horse with Art Collector and Mind Control and Laurel Rivers, not a bad horse. American Theorem, who ran last weekend. So I think this 3 has a real good shot here.
Hey, Paul, what I don't know if you looked at it, because I think I pay attention to this more than you guys, but the weird thing about the 3 was on the page, at least, I didn't dig behind that. All 3 wins on the page, all were with Lasix. And I know, again, I don't think everybody cares about that, but I always like to point it out in case people do and they just don't happen to notice it.
Yeah, I mean,
But has run well without it. So I don't, sorry, Howard, I was just going to say, it's not like was running last without it. So we're still running quality races without it, but the wins happen to come with Lasix coincidentally.
Yeah, I've said on this show several times, I'm just not a Lasix on-off kind of guy. I just think I don't think we have definitive proof that's the particular reason. It could be a lot of other things. I'm not saying people are wrong in thinking Lasix is the reason. I'm just not one of those people that looks at it that carefully, or I worry about a lot of other things. Getter number's interesting. I think he's regressing a little bit. I don't know. He's run some monster races, and I just don't know if Saturday's going to be the day, but I'm using him defensively. And then, of course, Nakatomi, who's coming from the Nakatomi Plaza in California. I'm assuming, of course, for you diehard fans.
Greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Yes.
Of course. Well, the big debate is it a Christmas movie? But that's a whole other
Of course
discussion.
it is. Christmas
no
Eve.
debate. There's no debate on this show.
No debate, Pete.
This is the one. This is the one for me that I think he's 3 for 3 at Keeneland, guys, and he loves this track. He's rounding back into form. He ran a nice race against Little Vic last time. I think the distance is not an issue for me, guys. Nakatomi is the one that I'm worried about the most. But you can go very deep in this race, but you can't go deep in every race unless you have pockets of a Paul Halloran. So then maybe you can. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see. Let's go on to the next race, guys. And it's not going to get any easier in this sequence, that's for sure. The next race is race 6. It is the Appalachian. Let me go ahead and switch some banners here. And who do we go with? Boom. There we go. Paul and Pete, thinking very much alike once again. The Appalachian is race 6. It's presented by Japan Racing Association, by the way, as well. $400,000. Fillies 3-year-olds, but these are on the turf. So that means they actually have talent because the dirt 3-year-old fillies are a bunch of meh. But there are some talented turf 3-year-old fillies out there. You see it is a field of 9 with the morning line favorite, a horse that I loved last year in the Breeders' Cup and ran very well. The number 7, Pleasant Passage for Shug and Gaffleone coming back, guys, off of that Breeders' Cup effort. Paul, that is who you and Pete are going with. Paul, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, the layoff is not concerning to me with Shug, although I'm looking at the numbers. They're not great on the win end, but the 3 out of 4 bullet works for this horse. 2 wins, and you mentioned how the horse was just out of it. 10th out of 14 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and then made a huge run to get second to Meditate. In the process, he beat the Cairo Concert is in this race, and is in the Miss Griot at Aqueduct, he beat the Be Your Best who's in this race. I like the fact that he has a win on firm turf, a win on yielding turf, and a second on firm turf. As you mentioned, Howard, it might be good tomorrow, probably be closer to firm on Saturday, but that doesn't seem to matter. And I just kind of think this is a really talented horse who was looking at a really big year.
Pleasant Pass. The winner is right here. Meditate. Here is the 5, Pleasant Passage, who had a little bit of trouble early, not bad, but a little bit of trouble. Makes a big run. Here's the 2, Cairo Consort, who was 21. We'll just watch the stretch run here. Pleasant Passage made a very nice run, and Cairo Consort certainly was game, but does get passed late by both these two, Paul.
Yeah. He was. This horse was clearly second best in that race. You could see he's got, 2 lengths clear, and in a turf race at the finish line, 2 lengths is a lot in any position. You saw the pack behind him; there were like 6 in the pack behind him. So, I think this horse has a really good shot, and he is a straight A for me.
Pete, do you have some exact numbers on the Shug horses off the layoff?
I didn't pull them. No, actually, you know what? Did I? Okay. No, you know what? I didn't pull them. I'll pull them up while we go. The one thing I did like, how Paul, too, was we lose Irad. You lose Irad on this horse to Cairo Consort, but Gaffleone rode Pleasant Passage in her debut, so at least he's somewhat familiar with her as well. So if you're going to lose Irad, at least you're getting a jockey who's hopefully comfortable with this horse already.
I like Pete, Tyler. I like Tyler.
Sorry.
I like Tyler. I got no issue with that at all.
Yeah. He's won some jockey titles at him and Sai has won the last few jockey titles at Keeneland, so I'm not worried about that either. Alpha Bella is a horse that you have, Pete, in second. Paul has third. I didn't love this horse. I know that she was very close to the Cairo Concert, but I'm not going to show the replay, but just so everyone knows, this race on February 4th was the race where Cairo Concert did not break well at all. I'm sorry, that was the race. No, yeah, that is the race. Cairo Concert on February 4th. That's the race where she didn't break well at all and came from the clouds and still beat everyone. But what is he like about Alpha Bella?
Just a couple things. I mean, this is another one. I have a little soft spot for this one. I think I liked her. I don't know if it was 3 back when she broke her maiden, and then actually with Cairo Consort in the 1-2 back. But I think this one is maybe getting back to the Justify horses haven't been great going 8.5 furlongs and up. A little better on the turf than on dirt, but still not a great record overall. So I'm wondering if maybe this horse, even though at the mile only ran a 70 buyer, that was still last year. I think this one is on the improve. Maybe is going to top out, and it isn't as good potentially as the rest of these, but I liked it as a price. I think to me it's sort of a 3-horse race. So I think Pleasant Passage by far has the most talent. So to get another horse underneath, just in case Pleasant Passage isn't ready, because Cairo Consort we've seen can get herself into a little bit of trouble and maybe get herself a little too far back. And we'll see. There's not a ton. If I recall, the highest time form is a 95. There's not really much speed in here.
It's so on the outside.
Yeah. And if I don't like the speed really, but if Cairo Consort just leaves too much to do, then I think Alpha Bella can maybe get the first run and see if she's good enough. And if Pleasant Passage just isn't ready for some reason.
Yeah. Boy, did I need Cairo Consort last time. Wow. That was, I'm going to talk about the power picks because it involves the horse that I have on top here. I'll talk about it briefly. These horses have been running at Gulfstream. I'm not huge fans of them. I think, which is why Pleasant Passage is ready, guys. I think she wins. The best horses are not running in the winter at Gulfstream. They're cranking up, now this time of year. So Cairo Consort is very honest. Obviously, she can win. She's just going to be bet down. I'm going to try to beat her. Let me talk about Papilio, guys. Papilio is a horse that I talked about on this show before her last race. She has tactical speed. She ran some nice races in Europe. I don't think distance is going to be an issue. Last time, I do want to show a bit of the replay here because I think it's something worth watching. First of all, I'll go full screen. I needed her or Cairo Consort for a big double in the Pegasus contest. That one hurt. That one hurt a lot. So this is a very painful replay for me to watch. But just very quickly, we're not going to watch the whole thing. Papilio is the 8, and she usually breaks well in Europe. I watched her replays in Europe. She breaks a step slow, and then she's a bit headstrong. Just watch the 8 here at Papilio. She has more early speed, I think, guys, than she showed. See, she just got outbroke a little bit. They crossed over. Now she's a little bit behind the 8 ball. But look, she does rush up, and you see she's tugging. You see her mouth is wide open. She's tugging. This is not good for a Euro, guys. She prefers to be up close but covered up. And she gets she gets a good enough trip after that. But you see she is in the 3-4 path, uncovered. And then she makes this move right here pretty wide. Here's Cairo Consort, who is a little bit further back and probably should have been up closer. And you see Papilio's on the wrong lead. Finally lugging in. She's just goofy, guys. She's a goofy. She's looking into the crowd. She finally straightens herself out, but then she loses momentum. Here's Cairo Consort coming over the top. I don't know. I think this was a pretty big effort there by Papilio, guys. And I think she's going to improve second time in the States. She's got tactical speed, and I think she's interesting. I think there's upside. Nothing wrong with Castellano, in my opinion, on the turf especially. The last thing I'll say before we move on. The turf. Paul, Pete, in your experience, softer ground, Keeneland helps closers. You don't even care about that. It doesn't matter to you compared to the DERF that they've been running at Gulfstream. Any thoughts, you two, on how that might play, especially early in the meet at Keeneland?
I would think if I had if it were on the softer side, I would think it would play better for closers. That would be my opinion. And back to just quickly, Howard, I did do a 61 to 180 on Shug for 13% wins and 47% in the money. So, not great, but not, nothing that's going to make me not play the horse.
Yep. Pete, any thoughts on the turf situation, or do you just want to move on?
No, I'm similar. I just think I agree that it's a little softer. You come from off. There was one quick question I thought in the chat. It was Nick had asked, do you basically have to decide who you like between, say, Cairo and Passage, or fade the other one? In theory, it's hard to have two potentially low favorites on a ticket, especially if you're talking about a pick five. I don't think you have to do anything. Obviously, value-wise, you should probably, and I think Brad Anderson answered it correctly.
Yeah.
You lose a lot of value if you choose both. But I mean, depending upon what the rest of your ticket is like and how thin you're going to be, and maybe if you want to press it and you just don't want to lose to either one,
yeah,
I don't get as worked up where I could have complained to somebody if they want to put somebody on the ticket.
I'm spreading. I think the 1 is not impossible. If the 6 can run back to what she did the first race or two, I think it's a wide open race, guys. This whole massive love for Kyra Concert, I'm sorry, I don't get it. She can win, but I don't get it. If Pleasant Passage is ready, I think she's clearly the winner. And then there could be 5 or 6 others, in my opinion, after that.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Madison, guys. The Madison, unfortunately, is a very short field. It's the race that I jokingly talked to Matt Cutera about with Funny How and the Adelphi Racing Club, who, by the way, Funny How races tomorrow in a grade 3, of which I have a fractional ownership of in the last race at Aqueduct tomorrow. We're all very excited for that. So good luck to anyone that's involved with Adelphi Racing and Funny How. Very talented 4-year-old New York bred Paul filly that's been getting a lot of attention. This is the Madison. It's a grade 1. It's a small field, but it's a very good field. $600,000, 7 furlongs, a field of 5. You got the morning line favorite. Wow. First time I've seen this, guys, actually, is the Breeders' Cup champion from last year, who was absolutely spectacular. Good Night Olive for Chad and Irad, 2 to 5 on the morning line. Wow. Are we all going with the 2? Yeah. We're all going with the champ. Paul, there's not much to say. If this horse is ready, she probably wins, but this is not exactly an easy spot.
No, I would say this is the example, Howard, of a race. People complain about short fields, but I'll tell you what, do you want 4 horses in this race to make it 9 and none of whom have a shot? I believe every horse in this race has a shot, and I would include the 20 to 1 morning line 1 horse. The horse ran second on this track to Nest in the Ashland last year. Now, he's going to come off the pace. He's on the rail. She is on the rail at 7 furlongs. It's a tough field
because there's always a gender issue with Paul. It's always
he murdered the other race, and I didn't even say anything.
He did. I felt bad.
Just take it for granted, Pete.
I kept him up. I've kept him up late, so it's a little bit of mercy. I'm like, it's okay. I'm gonna let the old guy, say what he's got to say.
You kept him up too late last night. We're not going to punish him today.
But I don't think that horse is without a chance. And as you said, how Good Night Olive is simply 6 for 7, and looks like can really win in a multitude of ways. She's won going wire to wire. She's won sitting right off the pace, and she's won coming from 5th in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, which was a good race. But to your point, Howard, Society is a real horse. You'll recall that Jessica Paquette gave out Society live from the Parks paddock on Cotillion Day.
I do remember that.
Uguri, I think, is a pretty good horse, and this 5 horse does nothing but win also. So, this is where, to the question in the last race, if you're playing a caveman, even though it is that type of race, I do think you have to pick one. And you'll see when we get to my ticket, I'm being Mr. Logical and going with the 2. But if you're playing ABC, however, and you're looking for some value potentially, because if you do beat the 2, you're looking at something good. So this is a really good race despite only 5 horses, is my opinion.
Pete, Mary Quite Contrary, we've talked about on this show several times. I think the last 2 times she ran, we were handicapping that race here for the show. Listen, she's done absolutely nothing wrong. She's improving. Shug takes over the training. My question is class. Beating,
sure.
What is the Pletcher or Call for Mischief and some others. Was it Obligatory didn't fire in one of her races too? Pete, this is a monster step up, but she does have recency on her side and she's in great form. And listen, if they hook it up early, you could do worse than this horse.
Well, that's the I think I think you said it perfectly. Obviously, he's undefeated with my man Luca Panici in
There it
the
is.
saddle. So we got the Italian connection, which always brings everything full circle. But the one thing I do like, yeah, you're right. She did pair up lifetime buyer tops, and that always, not always, but that can tend to lead to a move forward. But even a move forward here may not be enough to catch Society and Goodnight Olive. So it would have to be a pretty big step up. But like you said, the thing would be, the one thing we like in this race is we only have 5 horses, but we have good horses at every level. So you have Society is speed, who's really good. You have Ujiri, who's speed, who's very good. You have Goodnight Olive, who sort of sits mid-pack, but can pretty much do anything. And then you have this one coming from a little bit further back. So we have good horses at every level. If they do hook up front, and Goodnight Olive maybe just gets into it a little bit and isn't sharp. And I think Nick mentioned, you just put it up, but Nick mentioned that maybe won't be cranked for this. So
I don't know if that's Nick's opinion or if Chad actually hinted at that. I'm gonna have to do some research. I'll be honest, I haven't deep dived into quotes and just about this race. I do understand the stretch out, Pete, for sure. But you know what? We've heard this a lot before. At least we're all very experienced handicappers. The trainer says, "Oh, they're not quite ready," and then they run off the screen. So look.
Well, the thing is, this horse might not be ready and still is just better. I mean, you could not be ready and still be better than everyone else in the field, too.
I like the fact that she's become rateable. She used to be more of a speed type Pete. Now she's rateable. You would think Society is going. I mean, she hasn't proved that she can rate it all. And
no, she's got no other way.
Proved. I know Uguri rated a little bit last time, but that was in the slop in a much easier race. You'd have to think Santana's probably going, and you have to think Society's going, and it just, I mean, Goodnight Olive just sits the
it sets up perfect.
Now, if she doesn't fire, obviously she's no good. The only other thing I'll add, Paul, I've got the one in third. I think the one is fascinating underneath. I like turnbacks. She's off a layoff, but McPeak points to Kentucky. He's got his main guy on him, Brian Hernandez. This horse was in graded stake races last year. I don't think she can win, but I think she'd be a great bet for second or third to fill out a try and toss some of the big ones out of there. But I think to me this is Goodnight Olive's race to lose. But I'm doing a weighted all, guys. And if we had more time, we would talk about, I guess when we talk about the pick 5, we will. I'm using all of them in my ABC, but weighted. Final thoughts on that, Peter, Paul?
Yeah, I am. I think I am as well, Howard. I was just writing them in right on my screen here. I will tell you this though. Looks like I know we talked about Uguri, and she certainly looks like she's going to go. This Society, who is cutting back, so may not be as fast at 7, but this is a tough customer when she's on the lead. And regardless of where Goodnight Olive is, if Society gets a clean lead, you have a horse race, folks, because this gal is a tough customer on the lead. She's never lost when on the lead, as you can see from the PPs. So I think it's a really good race. I'm really looking forward to the race.
She's been working very well. I will make a side bet with anyone out there that Uguri will have the lead. I think Uguri absolutely has to send. I mean, we've talked about this, but the only chance Uguri has, to me, to beat this field is to wire. She has to go. And Society's quick, but she's off a layoff maybe. And again, maybe this is a means to an end. This is a tricky race, which is crazy when you got a 2 to 5 horse. But anyway, we're going to move on, guys. But it's interesting what's going to happen in the Madison. It's going to be a great race. Got a lot of people watching. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you comment in the chat. And while we're in the middle of the show, let me say, first of all, Happy Easter to everyone out there who celebrates Easter. You guys, Happy Easter. Have a wonderful Easter weekend and a good Friday. Literally tomorrow, all of you that are part of my tribe, Happy Passover to everyone out there, which is, of course, a week-long holiday. And so a lot of holidays, a lot of important stuff going on. But we wish everyone all the best with you and your family on these special occasions. Guys, let's go to the big one. Speaking of special occasions. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm so excited. I jumped the gun.
This is the big headache.
Oh,
this is the big one. Yeah.
Guys, Paul, don't we say this every damn year with this race? With the Shaker Town, like every damn year. It's just such a great, confusing, confounding big fields. It's a grade 2. It's 5.5 on the turf. They put up 350K, which is part of the reason why is that, it's a big field. They got a field of 12 with an also eligible that I'm sure will not get in. If someone scratches. The morning line favorite, and we should talk about morning lines a bit too, is the number 8, Caravel. This is another returning Breeders' Cup champion on the site of her victory for Cox and Gaffleone. 8-5 morning line on Caravel. And there's on the screen, you see the picks. And I got to believe, Pete, will go to you first. Nick Tamro, friend of mine, does a fantastic job. Excellent handicapper, excellent racetrack announcer. I mean, he's good at pretty much everything. Got experience last year doing the morning lines at Keeneland specifically. It's his second year doing it, Pete. I'm going to respectfully disagree. Well, maybe Caravel will be 8-5. That would be insane, in my personal opinion. You've only got the horse third. Paul's got the horse third. Again, people are like, Howard, are you having a brain cramp? I got Caravel nowhere. That's right. Pete, you've got the 5. Let's talk about this horse. You and I both are thinking the same thing. Wow. 6-1 morning line. Let's see, what's the other part of the name? Mr.
I like that. I like the name.
What do you like about this one, Pete?
Well, this is one where now obviously we're talking again, from a class standpoint, we got a lot to go up in this for this horse.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Obviously Caravel from a class standpoint, and Arrest Me Red and some of the others in here from a class standpoint, way above this one. But if you look at the page and you just completely deleted all the dirt races, then you got a horse who in the last 5 on turf, second, first, 61, 71, 72, then came back the next year with an 84, came back in 23 with a 100 buyer. So it's just climbing the ladder. So if we were just looking at this horse as a 5-race, as a 5-race career, you'd be like, holy crap, this horse is really on the come up, really just sort of improving. So if I'm looking at it from that perspective, this race is wild. There's obviously a ton of speed. It's 5.5 furlongs. So that sort of always happens. This one I like has shown the ability to sit off. So doesn't, even though it has that early time form US pace number of 118, which is highest in the field or co-highest, I don't think he's going to be on the lead. I think he'll just be sitting off and has shown the ability to pass horses. So for me, it's a flyer. I get Caravel wrong every race. So I never pick Caravel to win when she wins. I never pick her to lose. If I pick her to win, she loses. So I never know what to do with Caravel. So I'm taking a shot here, trying to catch a price where I think we potentially could have a vulnerable favorite in a big, wide open field.
I'm going to jump in, Paul, because I have the same pick here as Pete. Pete, this might be the sucker pick of all time because everyone's seen the 100 buyer and like, oh, this horse won by 6. And it feels a bit amateurish to pick this horse because of that, Pete. But you know what? I want a fresh face here. A lot of horses are coming off big layoffs. Catalano's no dummy, okay? And look what he's done. I'm not familiar with Austin Gustafson, but Mr. M has run some nice races, with Catalano. Look, he ran a 97 on dirt in 21. It's not like this horse is some bum, Pete, and then all of a sudden has sparked. He's got talent. Catalano is a smart guy. There's no way he would throw this horse into a monster grade 2 if he didn't think he had a shot. He's got Lannery. I love the trip situation. I think he's going to trip out, just off the pace. I watched the Fairgrounds replay. Now, look. That Fairgrounds race is bad. Forget about the turf. Nick Feldman, I hear you, okay? I'm not talking about the turf. I'm just talking about the field. The field was not good, Pete. But he did it so damn easily. I think there's upside. And if people want to say I'm not going to bet Fairgrounds horses because the turf was fucked up, excuse my language, I don't know. I mean, they all had to run on it. I mean, sorry, Paul. Paul's virgin ears.
Holy Week. It's Holy Week, Pete. It's Holy Thursday, Pete.
God and Jesus.
I'm a heathen, Paul.
So
I'm a heathen, so I go the other way. So
Pete, I don't like just to toss a horse because he ran at Fairgrounds grass to me seems. No disrespect to anyone, seems a little silly. I mean, if you want to say it's a class situation, fine. If you want to say because there were some patches that were not grass and that's why, that seems a little silly to me. Anyway, I'm fascinated with this horse. Paul,
I was going to say one quick thing is after that last race, came back, runs a runs a 46 4
Yeah.
furlong by a bullet, and then runs still runs a 47. So
I love it.
this horse came out sharp. I love when they go in a little sharp,
Love
they
it.
run sharp, and then they come out sharp. So I mean, again, he might get run off the track just from a class standpoint, but I'll take the shot in these races that are usually nuts. I mean, these 5.5 furlong turf big field races are crazy all the time anyway.
And Pete, I'm going to make you feel better because you are the king of the stats. You are going to like this one.
Yeah, maybe
it'll work its way into the stats of the day, which would be quite an honor. Catalano, it's a small sample, but Catalano with Laneri at Keeneland, 3 for 7, 43%.
Oh, I love it. I put those in. I put the small ones in just because, hey, you never know what people are gonna care about.
Okay. By the way, that track was very slow, the turf at Fairgrounds. So to go 21 and change, I mean, they were flying that day. I watched the replay. There's nothing to watch. He just stalked and just flew by. And I mean, again, the field was weak. Paul, let's move on. You're going to 12, Arrest Me Red. This is a horse I've bet many times. He's as honest as the day is long. It's Wesley Ward. You could do a lot worse with Wesley Ward at Keeneland. He wins. Again, what do you do with these layoff horses? There are a lot of you got. Let's just scroll down real quick. You got Arrest Me Red, was in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. You got Oceana coming off the Breeders' Cup Sprint. There's Caravel coming off the Breeders' Cup Sprint, winning at 43-1. By the way, Noble Emotion is coming off a break. Let's see. I think there was something else on the inside. Artemis City Limits, who I think is very live here, but is coming off a break. Again, Mark of the Z coming off a layoff. So I guess the big question is, Paul, you're not concerned about the layoff. Obviously, you got this one on top.
Yeah, well, especially with Wesley, if you look at his numbers, you can see those in the PPs. And, the potential to get caught too wide is obviously there. But, and I'm not the huge Rosario fan, although I will say turf sprints are probably right up his alley. Because there are so many coming off the layoff, Howard, I'm not going to be concerned about that. As far as Caravel, Howard, he may not be 8-5. He will absolutely be the favorite in this race. And I think –
there we go again.
I said he. Oh, it's a male. She. Oh.
There's only one, so that's okay in this race.
Pete, if I take a bathroom break, it's because I'm drinking too much water during the show. That's all right. That's all right. We understand gender.
Yeah.
No, but she will. And interestingly, to won the Breeders' Cup against the boys, but at 42-1, and I know that was the Breeders' Cup, but I don't know. I have this mental block about playing horses who were 40-1 last time and going to be 2-1 this time. Again, the horse is really good. It's a Pennsylvania bred by Lizzie Merriman, which means I'm rooting for her. But as far as betting, I got to take a shot to beat her. I will use her defensively in the pick 5, obviously, Howard, but I like the 12 and 3 the best as far as the multis go.
Is she one of those A's guys that you don't want to use as an A, but you almost feel like you have to? Or do you think you're going to have enough guts to bring this horse down to a B or a C level, Pete?
I think it probably depends on who your other choices are, too. So if you like I mean, you look at the race. If you don't think Caravel is going to win, then you don't put it as an A. I don't care what the odds are. I mean, it's really – but if you look at her and say – she's the best horse in the race potentially, and you like her, I wouldn't throw her off because her odds are too low. I don't usually it's a pick 5. It's different where I'm not talking about a win bet. You're not betting this horse to win at under 2-1. Real quick, Paul, on the 12, since you gave me the other stat, Ward and Rosario combination, 6 for 12 wins, 8 for 12 in the money in turf sprints at Keeneland. So they know how to get it done when they're there turf sprinting together.
Let's make no mistake about it. Wesley Ward gears up for Keeneland. Although I'll tell you what, the last race at Gulfstream for the championship meet, he had a very nice runner that to me might be Ascot bound in a 5 furlong turf race. The name is escaping me now, but the Ward show is about to begin. However, we don't have any 2-year-old races to talk about today. He's way over betting those 2-year-old races at Keeneland, those 4.5s. He will lose those at 2-5, 3-5. Just take caution with those extreme baby races with Wesley, because he'll throw out some horses that are amazing, and then he'll throw out some horses that are 2 to 5 that don't run. I mean, so it's tricky, guys.
Nick Feldman, I like it, Nick. That's an A for me. Nick got a good positive stat on the 3.
Right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
Maker and IRAD, 43% last 60 days. IRAD and turf sprints. That's the choice. Nick, Artemis City Limits is very live. That horse is an A for me. I don't see any reason why that horse cannot. It's just Caravel's just a 1-number horse, guys. I can't off a layoff. It's just I can't do it. All right, guys. Here's what we can do. Here it is, Paul. Are we ready? Strap it in. It is the Toyota Bluegrass. It's the 100-point Derby prep. 100 points to the winner, 40 for second, 30 for third. Pete, Paul and I talked about this last night, and we also talked about this on Monday. It's going to take more than 30 points to get into this Derby. You're going to need probably 40 or more. It's a very exciting race. Let's just jump right to it. Grade 1. It's going to occur at approximately 5:15 Eastern. We'll be watching this race live along with the Shakertown, by the way, also. So, again, please join us Saturday afternoon for our live coverage. It's a big field. It's either going a mile and an eighth, $1 million. $1 million. Mile and eighth, obviously it's for 3-year-olds. There's the field of 11. It's a little bigger than I thought it would be. The Moorline favorite, there he is. The number... from the rail. The number 1, Tappet, Trice, Pletcher, Saez. Very talented horse. We all are very familiar with him. Won the Tampa Bay Derby versus, frankly, a pretty mediocre field, I would say. This field is better than mediocre. It's not the best field we've ever seen. Let's go to the picks. I think the big question is who and who is not going with Tappet Trice. I mean, I've got to have Tappet Trice on top, right? Paul has got to have Tappet Trice. Put in the chat right now. I'm going to give everyone 10 seconds. Do Paul and Howard especially have Tappet Trice on top in their picks? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Yes or no? Yes or no? Pete or Paul, yes. Howard, no. Vice versa. Who knows? All right, we'll see what happens in the chat. And here it comes. Oh, Howard, no loyalty. What? Oh, my goodness. Am I thrown off the Tappet Trice bandwagon, Paul? Am I kicked off the team?
Yeah, it's interesting. I picked that horse second, Howard.
We did. We'll talk about it. Paul, we're going to go to ourselves first. Tappet Trice. Paul, when he drew the rail, and you heard that, the first thing you thought of was?
That it may force their hand to try to get him in the race a little earlier, which is, I think, what we all want. So,
I as almost a sneaky positive.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you pointed out earlier this week in the thread we had going, it would be probably a bigger concern if he didn't have enough points at this juncture to be in the Derby.
By the way, Brad thought we both picked. Trish said yes. Stephen Vanderbroek, no. He was correct. Charles B, no. Racing Downwind, no. They know us too well, Paul. They know, at least for me, that I'm a gambler at heart. So,
yeah,
anyway.
I'll be honest with you, Howard. I agree with you. I think this race is definitely better than the Tampa Derby. I don't think it's, I'm not going to lose any sleep at night about running against Verifying. I can tell you that. Well, I can't sleep anyway. We're on the air at all 24 hours a day, but I'm not going to lose any sleep running against this field. I can surely do that. And the 8 is purely on speculation. I mean, hoping the last race was too bad to be true. Had some trouble, but and this is my Belmont horse. I said that months ago, but yeah, I look at. I'm team Tappet Trice all the way. I think if he doesn't win, he doesn't win. I'd like to see him involved a little earlier. If he doesn't, though, Howard, if he breaks the way he has broken, then he's almost sure to be last at the turn in this race, as he was last time. So, yeah, I'm fine.
I want to clarify for everyone out there. I don't think he breaks slow. I think he breaks with when they spring the lap. He goes forward, but it just takes him time to get into stride. Which, yes, that is not ideal from the rail. Not only that, guys, I'm not sure where the 2 is going. I don't know if we've heard, because Clear the Air is also entered into the wood. So I haven't.
Right.
I have to read and find out. But if Clear the Air is going here, he's got some tactical speed. Verifying, at least I think Verifying is going for sure. So Paul, he's got speed right to his outside. None of that is ideal for him. I'd like to see him, break as, maybe be mid-pack. I'd be happy if he's mid-pack. He's not going to be up close unless he shows some completely new dimension. But Pete, here's the reason why I don't have Tapatrice on top. First of all, I have a win bet in him in the Derby. This is not the Kentucky Derby. So let's just get that straight. I didn't say he's going to win the Bluegrass. So he doesn't have to win this race for me. If you take Tapatrice off the name, Pete, and we've done this many times, and you look at the field, you're like, oh, this one horse has a chance to win. This horse, Tapatrice, has no business being anything lower than 3-1. And I love this horse, as you know. He's going to be over bet, Pete. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the things you do like is we know the upside of this horse, and we know with the added distance that this horse is probably only going to get better. So if you look at it from that perspective, it makes sense. Yeah. Plus, the field is just not that good. I mean, Blazing Sevens, the problem with picking against Tapatrice is you just picked a shitty horse. Excuse my language for everybody. So
well, hold on a second. Well, I got to push back. He was pretty good last year, Pete.
He really wasn't. He was fine. He had one good race in the slop where other horses just didn't run, and Verifying was terrible. Gulfport was awful. And then the other horses just didn't run. I never liked this horse, so I have a bias against him. So I just don't like him. I don't think he's any good, but it's Irad and Chad Brown. So
it's a guess for me. I agree with Paul, Pete. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
He was so bad last time. Chad said on this show, Paul, we interviewed Chad. He thinks this is a 2-turn horse. He said that at the beginning of this year or the end of he said in November of last year. So this is totally a pick on faith. And I think Paul agrees with that because, and he's also got Irad, Pete. That's got to mean something.
Yeah, that helps.
Like that, it just, I don't know. There's a lot of intent here, but you're absolutely right. He's no superstar, but if he runs a 90, is it possible a 90 buyer wins this? I don't think it's impossible that a 90 or 92 wins this thing. So how much better does he really have to be? He's just going to have to get the distance.
I don't love him at the distance.
Scooby, you're with Scooby?
Yeah,
wow.
I was going to say, you can call Blazing Sevens a shitty horse. Let me see you make the case for this.
All right, go ahead. Should I bring up Scooby-Doo? I don't have any Scooby-Doo music. I don't. All right, what do you got?
My son has a Scooby-Doo bathroom upstairs, fully decorated. So
I love Scooby-Doo.
I love Scooby. So I love Scooby-Doo. I'm not sure about Scooby Quando, but go ahead, Pete.
I mean, there's not a ton here. There's basically what I liked was I think I don't think this is a purely synthetic horse. I think has run well on the synthetic, but I do think just based on the breeding that should take to the dirt fine. And you could see that in the works. I usually like that last work 59-4 on the Keeneland dirt. So at least you could see something there. Again, this is a shot in the dark for me where I don't like the field. I think you can knock Blazing Sevens. I think you can knock Verifying and Tapatrice on the rail. Even though I go the other way with Tapatrice on the rail. I think this horse should just take back, swing wide, get a straight run, and just blow past all these horses and not screw around. But I'm totally different from you guys in that respect. I don't like
Pete,
all this.
You know what, Pete? For this race, you would be right, but for the Derby, that might not be the. So the idea would be, even if you get beat today, see if you could do something different.
No, I get it. But when you're at the rail with a horse that's sort of big and big, it takes a long time to get going. I don't think this horse is going to be great navigating through traffic. I think this horse just needs to see the stretch, see the wire, and run straight at it. I don't care if it's in the Derby or in this race. I think that's what's going to be his best chance to win either one of these races. Go ahead, Howard. Looks like you want to say something.
Well, I agree with Paul. Like, I hope they use him early, and they have to figure out what to do with him, Pete, if he gets an inner post in the Derby, right? I mean, you can't, if this was the Kentucky Derby, sure, I would agree with you. Take back, make a big run, but Pletcher said they can't be 15 lengths back. They know that. This horse has to start showing some speed. So if he doesn't run great because he shows speed and gets checked because he's rushed up or whatever, as long as he comes out of this race healthy, Paul, I'm okay with that. This is a total learning experience. I am not going to freak out if Tapatrice does not win on Saturday. It depends how he loses. Pete, I'm going to throw this horse in. You've convinced me a little bit. I mean, listen, I like the work. Who the hell knows? Let's just talk about verifying, and then we're going to get to our pick fives.
Yeah.
3-1. I watched the replay. I'm sure a lot of us did the Rebel. 2 back, he was awesome. And I thought this is a potential Derby horse. Maybe it was the slop. He broke fine. He had 0 excuse last time. I thought it was actually pretty bad. I have distance concerns about this horse, Pete. What are your concerns? We've all got this horse third. Is it quality? Is it distance? Is it pace scenario? Why don't you have this horse higher than third?
No, I always want to like this horse. The Justifies just scare me. The Justifies are 4 for 60 in dirt routes, and they're 1 for 22, at least in the top 20 progeny. So I didn't dig into all of his progeny, but in the top 20 you can get on Formulator. 1 for 22, 8.5 furlongs and up. So this horse he hasn't had success with horses on the dirt going beyond a mile, basically. And if you look back at verifying, 2 back was an optional claiming 80, who Gun Pilot hasn't come back too strong. 2 Eagles River was okay on the lead.
It was a nice field.
It was nice, but it was a good field that looked better until the last couple races. Yeah. Now it just looks fine, basically. Yeah. And it was at a mile. So I don't know if and had Lasix. So I don't know if 2 back sort of everything came together perfectly for this horse and he ran his best race. Now you lose the Lasix, you're stretching to a mile and an eighth. You have a little bit, the competition isn't great. Should get the trip. Nice, Tom.
Thomas, those are row, Pete. No Lasix, but maybe he's got the Scooby Snacks.
That's good. That's good.
I have a Scooby Snacks keychain, by the way, behind me. I should have grabbed it and brought it on the show with me. But my thing is with verifying, I think there's enough questions to where if you want to beat Tappet Trice, and you think this race might, if he's going to, try and do something he's not used to doing, and maybe he comes up short, instead of beating him with the 3-1 second choice, who's vulnerable, let's try and beat him with somebody who's going to actually make this thing pay out.
My Scooby kind of wise guy weirdo horse is the 11 Madison's March. I just want to mention, we saw bomb guys that at Arkansas finish second. This is another McPeak. It's Brian Hernandez. Go watch the last replay. This horse was waiting, came through the inside, did it easily. Maybe it was the slop, I don't know, but he's bred well. He's look at the dam side. It's more turfy, but it's Galileo, for Christ's sakes. And he's got a really good work. Mendelssohn's March to me is a little bit interesting. That's the horse underneath, guys. I just wanted to throw out there. All right, guys.
I like Race Kane a little for the same reasons. Race Kane, who I didn't like, I thought I wouldn't like, but actually it just could be coming. And Rosario's one on a closer. Rosario's can be tough on a closer if he gets a smart run and maybe can work out a trip from that 10 hole.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. This is a tricky race, another tricky race. So I wanted to. Here we go, guys. Let's get to our pick 5 so we can take a little break before our doubleheader action because we got Aqueduct to talk about. Real quick, guys. Paul, you got a $96 ticket that you're going to try to press up 4 times in it for $2. 2, 3, 7 with 3, 7 with 2 with 3, 4, 8, 12 with 1, 8. You are singling Goodnight Olive in the Madison.
Yes, so it's actually, if you played it for 50 cents, it would be a $24 ticket, I believe. So I'd play it 4 times. Yeah, and that's the reason. If you're going to single Goodnight Olive, you have to think. And if our guy wins on the end, if those 2 win, it's going to be hard for it to pay anything substantial. So I want to have it more than once. It's pretty straight. Obviously, the turf sprint I thought was the toughest race. I'm 4 deep on a caveman. I would be deeper than that on an ABC.
Fair enough. Let's go to Pete's pick 5. What? Wait a minute. Let me look at that number. What?
Well,
that's more than 100, Pete. What the hell?
I went 90 in our Aqueduct, so I borrowed for this one. So now if it's 100 and 198 total for the 2 shows, so it averages out to less than 100. So that was my theory.
Paul, those guys when you were younger, you were friends that just make up rules as they go just to suit their needs. That's a Pete Visco right there.
I'm from North Jersey. That's what we do. We don't care about rules.
Okay, fair enough. Pete's got a $108 ticket, 1, 2, 5, 7 with 3, 5, 7 with 2, 3, 5 with 5, 8, 12, with 1, 6. Very balanced, Pete, between 2 to 4 in each leg. Quick thoughts on your secret. You got Scooby Quando is one of your choices, along with Tappa Trice in the Bluegrass. Wow.
Yeah, I actually wind up going skinny in the Bluegrass. I either like a bunch of horses or just said, screw it, I'm going to go with Scooby Dooby Doo and go with the horse I think is probably going to win. First leg, I wanted to add the 5 Legionnaire, who we talked about at 20-1 to maybe kick it off, and figured that was been my last cut, so I didn't want to cut it to get under. And then from there, the one thing that I probably wouldn't do on a caveman is I probably wouldn't include Goodnight Olive, Society, and Mary Quite Contrary all on the same level, but just for the purposes of this ticket, I did. But I would probably single Goodnight Olive maybe as an A, and then put the other 2 as Bs and try and catch one of them to beat her. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I just sort of went with my top choices in each race and didn't worry about trying to catch a single, at least from a caveman standpoint.
Racing Downwind certainly loves it, Pete. So you got some fans there.
Tell Charles B the answer is Uncle Howard, who hit the last pick 5 in the show. Uncle Howard.
Thank you, sir.
Last week.
Let's see. Oh, listen. Anytime there's math, Howard and as Pete using the transitive property with his over 100 pick 5. No, that is not the transitive property, Tom. But I'll call you and give you a little math lesson.
But we're horse racing people, so nobody else knows that. So it's all good.
Okay, fine. It was the transitive property.
Nobody's going to look it up. That sounds like a good horse name anyway.
My pick 5, guys, it's a $90 ticket. 2-7 with 1, 2, 3, 7, 9 with 2 with 3, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12 with 1, 3, 8. It's a $90 ticket. You got to single somewhere. I'm singling Goodnight Olive. Does she have to win? Absolutely not. Is there someone else that I prefer to single? Absolutely not. I almost singled Run Classic, guys, to start the pick 5 and say, you know what? If he doesn't win, the good old pick 4, the big old pick 4, right? I almost did it. I might actually do it in a Caveman Saturday, but of course, you guys know I'll be playing the good old ABC. Guys, I think we covered everything we need to. So quick final thoughts from Pete and Paul on what's going to be an unbelievable day of racing this entire weekend, but especially Saturday at Keeneland. Pete, anything real quick from you?
No, it's a good sequence. Everybody should get into it. And everybody in the chat right now, join us in 22 minutes to talk about Aqueduct.
Paul, thoughts on Keeneland Saturday? Is Tappa Trice going to do it for us? Again, we have a live watch party starting at 4:15 Eastern. It's going to be the Shakertown, which is a great race, followed by the Bluegrass, and then only like 7 or 8 minutes after the Bluegrass, guys, the San Anita Derby. So what the hell? Let's stick around and watch that too. Paul, final thoughts for Saturday at Keeneland specifically.
Yeah, well, Howard, I do think he's going to do it, and I don't think he has to do it, but I'm certainly rooting for him to do it, and rooting for him to get a better trip. But regardless of what happens, Howard, they're not going to lower put the odds higher on the tickets we're holding for the Derby. So it is what it is. We'll just have to live with that 60-1 no matter what happens Saturday, Howard.
Paul, here's my last 2 comments, guys, for the show. For Tappa Trice. Real nice last final quarter and come out healthy. That's it. Come out of the race healthy and have a nice close in the final 8th, final quarter. That's all I want. We're going to leave it at that. For my co-hosts, Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 245 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good luck with your bets at Keeneland on Saturday. And if you're watching live, we'll be back in 21 minutes with the Wood Memorial Late Pick 5 in New York. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.